Right then, in today's video we're going to be taking a look around the city of Irbid in Jordan. So the adventure starts off in the capital Amman, where typical Jordan style will have to go to a random lay-by on the outskirts of the city to find the bus to Irbid. Once I managed to work out exactly which unmarked lay-by the bus goes from and then waited for a bus to fill up, which didn't actually take too long as it's quite a busy route, the bus eventually departs on its 1 hour journey to Irbid. And as the bus pulls into the city of Irbid, it goes past what looks like a repeat of 9/11. Has that plane just crashed into a building? But no, it's actually been built like this. I've used an old second-hand plane and turned it into some sort of structure of the building. Sadly though, I didn't have time to visit it as this was a couple of miles out. So along to the bus station. Even though in Amman the buses depart from random laybys, in Irbid it actually goes to a proper bus station where there's loads and loads of buses all going to different places around Jordan. I'm not sure I trust the quality of those bridges. They don't seem like the most well built bridges I've ever seen. That is a lot of buses. So then, this bus station is 2 miles out from the city centre of Irbid. And even though there's loads of these privately run intercity buses, there's hardly any buses actually going into the city centre. So I ended up walking, which is what I want to do anyway. There's just lots of shopping centres to see en route. The first shopping centre is actually called the city centre, even though it's actually 2 miles from the city centre. This shopping centre looks very modern. Mitsubishi. So, off-brand Mitsubishi. Shanghai Mitsubishi. A weird off-brand version. Looks very Chinese, that pattern on the door. And even though this shopping centre looks really nice and modern, on the top floor it's got this really tatty amusement park. But even though it looks a bit tatty, at the same time it's actually quite impressive. They've got all these rides that you'd normally expect to see outdoors inside a big hall, which is quite strange looking. Roller coaster. Fucking weird this. Surprisingly big rides. Considering it's indoors. Normally stuff like this is outdoor. Now I go along to the next shopping centre, which is Arabella Mall, which has got a nice big atrium with shaftless lifts. Shaftless? A bit cracked, but it's nice. Bit slow though for a number of floors. Oh, rooftop level. What the fuck is this? that bit was still being built. This is a weird place. There's your other shaft list up there. Why is it in this country always being watched? Like everyone's watching you all the time. Roof. That's locked in this one. So it was supposed to be closed. Mezzanine is why? That doesn't even make sense. Well, I guess it's a good display, so it has a weird little shape. And now along to a residential building with some weird fake plastic candles have been made to look like they've melted. Another Asian lift. It's all Asian in this city. What is it with Asian putting these patterns on the lifts? -1 and door closed. -1. No, that's door open, I think. No, it's not door open. It's a door. Don't ask me. So is that door open? Neither of those are door open. Chai. Interestingly, on this walk from a bus station into the city centre, there's a lot of shopping centres. Far more shopping centres than I would expect for the city size. The next shopping centre is closed. And next to it, there's a little bit that's open. It seems to be like a residential part of the building. Okay, I wasn't going to bother with this until I saw this interior. What the fuck is that interior? Okay, just another one of these pieces of shit again. -1, no 4. What the fuck is that interior? That is weird. This thing's really slow. It's not yet finished being built. And now let's take a look at the price of food, which is very variable in Jordan. Some things are very expensive, like cashew nuts, and other things were very cheap, like olives. As for McDonald's, this was slightly cheaper in the UK, but not that much cheaper. Although one thing which was very cheap in Jordan is pizza. I managed to find a place doing 3 pizzas for £3. Even though these were small pizzas, this was still a very good deal. Now I do have to be a little bit careful with cheap pizza because sometimes they put lots of fillers into it which don't digest, which means it all comes out in a big splatty poo. Luckily these pizzas did digest quite well, so they were of a reasonable quality. Can't believe this. 3 pizzas for £3. I'm speechless. I've got 3 pizzas for £3. I mean, they're not the biggest thing, but that's still good value. So the second one is that one. The first one tastes really good. I can't believe that it's £1. That's crazy. And the third one. Another thing I ate on a different day was burnt sweet corn for £1. Although I'm not really sure if that was a very good deal. The supermarket seemed to be of a fairly good quality, not as processed as places like Montenegro, although I did seem to be lacking a few things. And one thing that was very weird is for 9p you could have a tiny bottle of water. Like, just why? Why would anyone want that? And as for high percentage chocolate bars, these were more expensive than the UK. Although that said, the UK seems to be the cheapest country I know of for these high percentage chocolate bars. All other countries seem to be more expensive. So then, one thing there is a lot of in Jordan is bong. lots and lots of fucking bong shops. Look at all those bongs. And this wasn't the one-off, it was loads of these shops. It was even a Corona COVID-19 bong. Hey, have you been getting withdrawal symptoms of not having COVID? Well, you can now get COVID by a bong. And in the shopping centres, unlike the UK where it's usually just no smoking, no vaping, over here it's no smoking, no vaping and no bongs. That really says everything about this country. So now along to the Salam shopping centre.
The door is closing.
No, GYG. Everything's made to look like Mitsubishi. It's weird that in Asia they like Mitsubishi so much that all the generics copying.
First floor. This car is going down. The door is closing.
Why is it in English? That's weird. It's all in English.
Third floor.
So that's a posh looking finish centre, but there you can see how the construction looks. That is not that well built concrete, not that many uprights. You've got those side beams, then there's this filler in between those. Look at it, just put the filler in. So not much of that is proper structural concrete, so much of that. Now this is the filler blocks they put in. But that doesn't support weight, that's this filler block. The weight support on the beams and the uprights. And the beams which are not that, that's not that big. Like the uprights are reasonably beefy. There's just not that many of them. But and in towards the centre, there's this very run down shopping centre. Wow. Okay, it's had a mod, but it's still quite original. Come on, take me somewhere. So then, along I go to a little residential building and along to the lift. That's how the mod, that's actually old. And now let's take a look at the markets. There's 4 types of markets here. There is the bird markets, where they're selling lots of chickens. You've also got the new fakes market, where you've got fake versions of real products. Then you've got the second-hand market, which is something you see quite a lot in these sort of countries. A lot of your items here have been donated from European countries, where it's like from various charities that like collect up shoes and football boots and all sorts of things to be donated to charity. And this is all places where they end up. They give them to people, then they clean them up and then sell them on for a fairly low price. Then there's also the third-hand markets. Now this is where those second-hand items have been brought by someone, then they're trying to sell them on again. And these look very rough. Especially this section where people are trying to sell stuff on the floor around where these buses are. And most of the clothing and shoes they're selling looks quite dirty. So this is where the most impoverished people buy their stuff, such as the large refugee population here from Palestine. Let's take a look at the shoes market. And this is a large market full of rows upon rows of shoes. Each stand in this market is owned by a different person. Some of them are selling second-hand reconditioned shoes and some are selling new fakes of shoes. And it can actually be a bit hard to tell the difference between the two. Now along to the next lift, and this lift does not seem in very good condition. Basement. B1's now up there, okay. So you moved the button because it broke. That's weird. Nice. That's not. That's the 4th floor. So take the B1 button out, put it there, because the 4th floor button must have broke. Oh, okay, that's just weird. No, oh, you can see the lift shaft going past. What's in the lift shaft today? A load of messy wires. So, back along to the bus station. So flashing means it's boarding. The hazards means the bus is boarding. And the driver shouts out where it's going. And one interesting thing about countries further south is there's very little sunset time. It goes from being completely light, middle of the day, to middle of the night within about 10 minutes. So I arrived at this bus station, found which bus I needed to take back to a man, and the time I got on the bus and the bus departed, it was already the middle of the night.